So, Gabe, we were talking the other day. We go way back.
A long time.
We go back to where it was before shopper marketing was even cool, right? Back in the days.
Right.
I mean, what was your foray into Northwest Arkansas, into the marketing world? What was your first gig that you had?
Let me think. I was went to grad school at the University of Arkansas and waiting tables, finishing grad school. And a guy named Aaron Elliman, who of course, came in, sat down at a table, and we got to talking. And I'd known his wife especially for a number of years. And he said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I'm going to Georgia to work in the ag industry." And he said,
like, "Why?
You should be in marketing." And so the next day I went in and interviewed at Thomson Murray and just fell in love with it. Of course, then Saatchi purchased and turned into Saatchi X. And I was there for 11 years, which is where we met.
Yeah, that's where we met. That's crazy. Yeah. That was back in my North Star days.
That's right.
I'm an old P&G person that I tell people I'm one of the few P&G people that have never worked for P&G in Northwest Arkansas. Right. One of those guys. But shopper marketing, and then you kind of bounced around a little bit of entrepreneurial world, right? Well, you had a couple other startups and things you did. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of a few things. Stayed in shopper marketing after Saatchi for a little bit, and then went and ran a media agency, and we had rights to high school logos across America and college logos, and we produced pencils and pens and folders and sold them into retail, and that was a lot of fun. Did that for a couple of years, and then got into, I still raise a few cows and still make a few fishing baits and different things. I just love staying busy. And then went and worked in brand management and ran a group of brands for an outdoor company. And that's where I really fell in love with e-com. E-com had been starting to take shape in the late, say, 2008 to 2012, but not really getting a lot of definition. Right. And then 2016, 17, 18, in that area, ran a group of brands, and e-com laddered up to me and just fell in love with the world of e-com and the speed at which you can make decisions and make a difference in the business. That's
crazy. Yeah. So we're gonna spend quite a bit of time talking to listeners here. We're going to spend quite a bit of time talking about e-commerce, but I know that you have this 10-month-old little...
I do, a little boy. Samuel, and he is paradise, Rick. Happiest kid ever.
Yeah, and I was gonna break some hard news to you today. Did you know that the Abbott baby formula plant was flooded last night?
The one that's been down for months? The
one that had 40% of the entire U.S. volume got flooded last night. So it's going to be out for another few weeks.
Rick.
I know.
That's terrible.
It's from an e-commerce standpoint, but we were also talking the other day that people like you can help everyday individuals, kind of weather through some inventory issues. Right. So
I appreciate.
I just saying you might have like a public service announcement that could help all the listeners out there, especially after last night.
Well, first I didn't watch the news this morning.
Okay.
That is awful. And you hope this just gets sorted out in like 4 days, and all baby formula comes back in. Yeah, we almost 2 weeks ago now, I've got a nephew who's 5 or 6 months old and can only take one kind of formula, just one, and that's the only nutrition. His name's Caleb, the only nutrition Caleb can have. And his parents called and said, "Okay, everybody, we're running out of formula. Go to your local grocery store, go to Walmart, go wherever, see if you can find this formula. If you do, mail it to us, whatever." And I thought, well,
you're an e-commerce guy. Wait a minute.
I know how to solve that.
I want to go to drive around,
and
right?
So I just set out and gathered the OPD in-stock information at every store in America.
OPD for listeners, just in case.
Yeah, so the Walmart curbside pickup or from store delivery for every store in the U.S. for this baby formula, and sent them, said, here are all the stores where it's in stock. And there was one in Arkansas, in Camden, on that day. A couple of days later, I was talking to someone and just happened to mention, they said, well, my coworker has the same issue. And I said, well, I'll send him the list. So I just ran the list again and sent it to him. And then I got to thinking, there are a lot of people that really need help with this. And so launched a website. Actually, today is kind of first day live. It's www.findingformula.org.
Wait, so findingformula.org. That's great.
And I'm not going to say it's the best designed website ever, but it's functional. And every day we're just going. And so right now we're gathering information at all Walmart stores for all formula. And you can search by zip code or metro area or by your formula that you need. And then I think tomorrow we'll have Target online with it, and then we're planning to expand. Again, hopefully this whole thing goes away, but it's just it's awful. We were in the luxury, my wife and I, where our son is old enough where we can wean him off of formula, and so we've done that. But a lot of parents they're not that shape, and it's. I think what really got me was the announcement St. Jude had dozens of babies admitted with malnutrition, and it's terrible. And this Abbott plant, that's That's awful.
It's awful. Now, again, the reason I started with that, just as you're listening to this, is that think of the power of e-commerce today, that as little as 8-10 years ago, you are driving around trying to figure something out. Yeah. And so you can use the power of technology at Webata, or in your case, to do a public service for others. So, findingformula.org is important. But let's kind of segue with that into the real world of e-commerce today. When I look at the importance of e-commerce, especially in our ecosystem here, it's a Walmart world, but again, it's Walmart, Target, any brick and mortar is looking at e-commerce. Talk through the importance and what you've seen over the last 2 or 3 years and how that's changed and kind of where it is today.
Yeah, sure. What fun we're having.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movie quotes comes from, of all places, The Three Amigos, which is terrible to say, but the quote is, "In chaos, there's profit," or something to that effect. Yeah. And e-commerce today is just that. It feels very chaotic and has for a little while, especially as it relates to brick and mortar e-commerce like Walmart, like Target, like Kroger, et cetera. And it has become critical to a business where we're seeing, somewhere in the range, if you're a food supplier or consumables or pets, we're seeing somewhere between, 15 to 20% of your sales, your POS sales, are going through e-commerce. Okay. And so it's a significant piece of the business and a growing piece of the business. And there are some dynamics within that e-commerce that make it a very, very important piece for long term.
Okay, great. And, we did an interview with you a few months back. We've got a great ebook. I think we're in the comments field. We're going to put a link to the ebook that has a great photo of you, kind of that
very thoughtful,
that thoughtful photo. But in that, you started speaking about the difference between a generalist and a specialist. And I think it's important for the viewers today to really think through that, because you kind of need to put yourself in one of those roles, I think, and look through this and then determine, what skills do I need? Right. What technology do I need? Can I use someone like Webata? Sure. What does it really look like? So walk us through generalists and specialists.
Yeah, sure. I think, the nature of e-commerce, as we all kind of know it, and let's just take an Amazon as an example. The nature of e-commerce at Amazon is that you make a change, whatever that change is, and it filters out to all people who shop Amazon. At Walmart or Target or Kroger, there are really, in effect at Walmart, 4,700 different Walmart.coms. It really depends on your store, your location, where you're shopping. You can't go to Walmart.com without having a store assigned. Okay. The old Walmart.com, you could, but the new Project Glass, you are automatically assigned a store. When you, Rick, I'm sure you're probably going to vacation in Bangladesh. When you do and you log in incognito to Walmart.com, you'll be assigned the Bentonville Walmart. Okay. And so there are times where you have to really be a specialist and understand what has to take place website by website or store by store. And then other times where you could be a generalist and think about what are the changes I can make that affect the Walmart.com in total. So examples of those might be with on the specialist
like inventory,
side.
As an example.
Inventory is a great example.
On-shelf availability. What does that mean? Generalist versus specialist. How would I look at that?
Great example. So on-shelf availability, it really is 4,700 stores. And so if our latest data would indicate that if however many stores your item is carried in, there are probably about 12 to 13% of those stores where that item isn't even listed on OPD. So you can go to that store's website, you can go to OPD, you can search for that item, and it just doesn't show up. It's just not there.
Even though it's
there. The store is in, you've got POS sales flowing. You've got,
it's there.
Yep. You send in your retail team and they take pictures and send back to you and say, it's here.
It's there.
It's just not online. Okay. And that's a pretty easy thing to fix. But that's if e-com is about 20% of the business, which may be a little bit on the high side, but it's a round number. And if about 10% of your sales or 10% of your stores don't have that item listed where you're carried, all of a sudden that starts to translate into real percentage points in your overall bottom line. So that's one example of where a specialist is really, really important. Same thing with, you mentioned inventory initially, and OPD necessarily runs out of stock faster than Retail Link. Okay. And so if you don't understand that and don't have the data around what are the things that trigger running out of stock on OPD, you're looking at your Retail Link report and saying, I'm doing fine. Our data would indicate there's probably another about 8% of your item store combinations that are showing a false out of stock. Right. They're showing out of stock on OPD, and yet there are units in the store.
Yeah. So folks that are listening, some are already specialists. They've got it figured out.
That's right.
They're on top of it.
That's right.
There are others that are saying, I appreciate the theory, Gabe, great theory, but man, where do I get started? What do things look like? And we're going to talk a little bit later about, our B2B marketplace, Plum marketplace. And we've got some of your products on there that gives people an easy taste, easy drink to get started. But if someone wanted to get started in this world and say, gosh, that even just the inventory thing's overwhelming. What do I do? How do I get started? How do I engage with someone like you? Is it hard? Are you like an agency? Does it take 6 weeks to get started? I mean, what do I need to do? Yeah,
I'm glad. Yeah. So getting started and improving your business really is a very simple thing. And there are a couple of ways to go about it. A lot of organizations have an e-com competency already, and they've checked off the things like, in general, our content is up to speed. And in general, we're in stock in our stores and or in the fulfillment centers where we need to be in stock. And some folks aren't there yet. Some folks are still trying to figure out how to approach e-com, especially as it relates to like a Walmart.com. I think what you guys are doing with Plum is wonderful. I love this B2B. Yeah, I do. There's such a need for it. We're really built around a longer term relationship at Webata. Not everyone needs a long-term relationship, and to be able to dip their toe in the water and have specific questions and have a place to go that aggregates all of these service providers together. And you could say, I need to know what my price is. I need to know what my competitor's price is. My buyer just told me he launched a regional brand. I kind of want to know about him. And I don't want to have to send someone to all these stores. I think what you guys are doing with Plum is wonderful, and it's a great way from a retail solution marketplace. We have so many marketplaces as consumers. I love it.
Well, it's great. Well, if nothing else, especially in the e-commerce world and working with you, I remember early on when we talked about how do we get your products and services on Plum so that it allows someone to get that taste. And you said, listen, Rick, let's just have very simple drinks.
That's right.
Let someone get a taste of this. And I know even as we talked about the long-term effect of it, you start talking about scores and how to score. So how do I know if I'm an A or a B? Am I a 70%, 75? And what if somebody tells me my baby's ugly? I mean, can you help me? Can you help me assess if I'm ugly or not?
Yeah, that's right.
Can you help me there?
Well, let's keep off the personal stories for a moment. And I think, it is. That is so much of what we do is that assessment of where do you stand, and really we look at it from a balanced scorecard perspective, which is really important.
What does that really mean?
So it is one thing to say. I know back in when I was running e-com for a brand, one of the calls I got all the time was, hey, so I was doing this audit on the website. The top sellers have 10 images. Your items only have on average 9 images. So to compete, you need 10. To win, you need 11. And it's like, do I really need 11 images? Why not 12? Is that going to make me double my sales? And so it's really important to understand, what are the actions that are happening? And then what is the impact across the balanced scorecard? So some of that balanced scorecard would be, of course, sales. Does it show up in either a top line or a bottom line number? Also very important to performance is search ranking. How does this affect my count of top 10 rankings? How many keywords I rank for on page 1 and et cetera. Really important right now, Walmart's been discussing a lot with their suppliers, their content quality score. And what do these things have to do with my content quality score?
So they're actually looking at the text and the things that are in there and say, is it more than just a sentence or number of words? They kind of,
That's right. And also they're looking at ratings and reviews, which I know you guys do quite a bit of. You've got a nice rating and review program that really helps people out, and not just getting their average rating to a particular threshold, but also keeping a freshness within, which is important. And so you've got to look at that balanced scorecard and look at a number of metrics and see what those interactions are to be able to know, am I really moving the needle in this or not?
So that's the type of thing that I could engage with Webata, and you can kind of give me that health check.
That's right.
And where we are, and then whether you could help me solve a couple of things, or in our case within our Plum marketplace, we could go get some ratings and reviews, whatever it may be. It isn't like someone has to hire 5 agencies to go solve this, right? I mean, so if I'm a large entity, obviously I've got someone like Saatchi that might be, taking care of this for me. But But for the other 90,000 suppliers that are out there, this is doable, isn't it? I mean, I can get my score up, and I really can get ratings and reviews, through Field Agent, through Plum. I can make that happen.
That's right. Yeah, and I think importantly, it is not. There are all these things you can do, and the question is, okay, what should I do?
Prioritize.
And really, that's where we come in. Is we try to make that assessment and then prioritize the actions and help people get from all these things I can do to what should I do. We've got a pretty well developed process for identifying what are those critical actions, and then if it's as an example, this item needs more reviews, then go work with field agent. Let's go get some reviews. If it is this item needs more photography, or this item needs help with its item setup, then let's get that to the appropriate people so that those actions can be taken.
Yeah. So in our world, obviously we deal with, we live in Walmart world here, but obviously when we think of ratings and reviews, or you're going to Plum, you're getting photography for your website, whatever it may be, we're somewhat agnostic in that a website is a website to us.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not really looking at a specific ratings review, even though we can put it on Walmart.com, but we look at photography, you can use it across. So I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you, you're more than just a Walmart shop. So we talk about .com because so many people look at our industry and where we are today. It's like, well, obviously you're just a Walmart guy, or you're just a Target person, or you must be just an Amazon. So speak a little bit to the breadth of just being an e-commerce provider, and some specificity and kind of where your sweet spots are.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, our certainly to go, we're not just a Walmart shop, but our sweet spot is Walmart right now. I mean, I've been in the market for a long time, been in food, drug, club, mass for 20 something years and love it. There are a lot of principles that apply. We actually next week are launching in Target, which I'm really excited about. So our whole idea behind Webata was let's help people sort out what is my next best action. Again, go from the things I can do to what should I do, and then replicate that model at the retailers. We're starting with Target. That'll be launched next week, and then Kroger shortly thereafter, and so on and so forth. We're really excited about that.
Okay. Now, I'm a big deselection guy. I mean, everything can't be a priority. I mean, as you and I have talked to you, if you start chasing shiny objects, you're in big trouble. Right. So speak to the deselection. If you're a listener out there now, you're watching, you're listening to this webinar, and you've got a clip from us. If I'm trying to deselect and say, don't worry about these things, what's some common mistakes or some common issues that people find? It says, I know you think that's important, but I'm telling you, don't chase that. And then the follow-up would be, what are the one or two things, regardless of your product, whether it's food, whether it's hard lines, whatever it may be, what are 2 or 3 things you just need to do today? So start out with, help me deselect, because I only have so many hours in the day. Yeah,
right. Well, I think it's a good question. And so much of what your choices are, what you can do, happen to be tied somewhat to your job. And so if your role as a marketer, then that set is going to be a little bit different than if your role as a salesperson. But in general, e-com is still it's still retail. And so the fundamental principles of retail apply almost perfectly over to e-com. Maybe the activities are a little bit different, but you have to have a good product. So if you have a bad product, there's nothing you're going to do to fix that, right? You've got to fix your product. But importantly, I think the thing that is probably one of the easiest things that can be done is make sure you've got product on the e-com shelf. That on-shelf availability, low-hanging fruit.
Inventory,
in stock, listings.
You sound like a merchant saying, you're going to sell 90% from the side counter. You got to be in stock. So you're telling me that principle just follows across.
It just follows across.
Okay.
Win your category, get on the shelf, win your category, then start thinking about cross merchandising. It's the same, from a principle perspective, the same playbook we've been using for our entire careers in retail. It translates into a little bit different location, the digital versus the physical, but it's the same basic playbook. Make sure people can actually transact your product. What I see happen way too often is that a marketer or an organization will say, we have to grow by X% this year. And the first thing they do is they start pumping money into advertising. I'm an advertiser at heart. I start off in marketing advertising. It does work. It does work. It does work. But there are some fundamentals you just got to get first before you go and dump all the money in. And I think that's one of the mistakes I see is that people enter into the market and they really don't have the fundamentals yet. They don't have their items set up properly. They don't have any ratings or reviews, and they start pumping advertising in, and it's very, very difficult to sustain a growth brand just out of advertising. You've got to have those underlying fundamentals there first.
Right. We've been really surprised at the number of URLs we pulled up and looked at items of how many just basic items have a ratings review that's dated back in early 2021. You've got 5 or 7, and then the item right next to you could be almost exact same item. Another competitor has 50, 100 ratings reviews. They're current.
That's right.
And we all know intuitively, if I have to make all things fairly equal, I'm probably going to go over here where I've got some ratings reviews. And so that's an example of kind of blocking and tackling types of things that are in front of them. So that part's been encouraging to me when I look at our products and what we're trying to serve, that there's a need for them. But let's talk about the again, I don't have an agency. I'm just a guy by myself. If I had to start tomorrow, we'd start out with make sure your fundamentals are right. It's there. Give me something that's kind of fun and that sounds like .com. Give me a .com-y kind of thing. But if is it the assessment score? Do I need to understand that? Is it really the content piece? What do I need to really?
You've got to get your content right.
Okay, so speak to that a little bit.
And so you've got to get your content scorecard. You've got to get it in a good place. Go into item 360, understand what your content score is, go to the critical actions, look at those. So
anyone can do that. I don't need you.
Can do it.
I can go in today, go into item 360, and it's going to give me a score of X.
And it will give you a percentage score of 99% or 42%, whatever the case may be. And then there will be critical actions and execute those critical actions. Get your content score up, but really get your shelf presence right, which is content. Is your photography good? Do you have a good title? Is all those things. And that shelf presence also, the user generated, the reviews. Make sure your ratings and reviews. And I think one of the things that we miss so often in, especially this curbside pickup and really the new Walmart is how few jump balls there really are.
Okay.
And so if I'm going and I'm looking for
by the way, sports analogy. So
sports analogy. Yeah. If I'm looking for a Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Okay.
And I search for Cinnamon Toast Crunch, no matter what comes up, I'm probably going to buy a Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I may get the regular size, I may get the family size, but I'm probably buying Cinnamon Toast Crunch. When Samuel, our 10-month-old, gets to where he's buying cereal, I might type in kids cereal. All of a sudden, we have a jump ball. Anyone can win that. I may be a little predisposed to a brand because of advertising or what have you. Anyone can win that. The issue with the challenge with Walmart.com, is that once I buy that Cinnamon Toast Crunch, of course, it's in my cart.
It's in my history.
It's in my history. What have you bought last time? When I search for kids cereal, it's going to pop up and it's going to say you've bought this 3 times before, 4 times before.
Okay.
And so the lifetime value of that e-com shopper is very, very different.
Especially the initial time that's in my cart. Right. So you've got to be first.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And so these points of category entry become really, really important because the lifetime value is very different. And so that's one of the things, like with the ratings and reviews that you mentioned, if I'm looking at 2 items side by side and it's Cinnamon Toast Crunch versus Frosted Flakes, one of them, whether the photography feels stale or whether no one cares enough about it to give it a review in a year and a half, we're just looking to win some jump balls because that jump ball doesn't just pay out for that purchase, it pays out long term.
Yeah, I like that. Now, just thinking back to your earlier comment, I could be a legacy brown sugar cinnamon frosted Pop-Tart guy. I could be one of those, right?
Right.
But I could have that in my cart. But if I'm not in stock,
that's right.
You've now opened me up to the jump ball concept.
That's right.
So to your point, if your basics aren't right, now I'm out of stock. You've given someone a chance to get into that cart. And the next time I come back in, you might be yesterday's information. So I love the way that ties together.
Rick, it's critical because like the substitution list. So an item is substituted.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, what I've seen is that substitution is in my what you bought last time.
So even if I didn't ask for it, it wasn't in stock. It shows up and said, "Hey, we thought you would like this," which happens
all the time.
Well, I was just saying, happens sometimes. It happens all the time. And my daughter Hannah is just a big grocery pickup person, and she deals with those kind of substitution pieces. Sometimes she's pleasantly surprised. Sometimes she's not. But to your point, that's almost like giving someone a free sample.
That's right. It's exactly what
it is. And it's my fault. It was my fault because I wasn't in stock I gave my core consumer a free sample.
That's it.
That's frightening.
That's it. And now that free sample is what's in there bought last time.
Yeah.
And and you've bought this before when you're doing a more of a category type search, it is real. Those fundamentals are really, really important because you get that customer and now you have that hope and almost promise of lifetime value. Then to your point, you give them a kind of a free pass at trying something else.
That's bad. That's bad. So by now we should have a few people rolling their eyes and a few panicking.
Right.
Now they're rolling the eyes again. You guys probably have an agency. You're okay with that. Call someone, right?
Right.
But the ones that are really panicking right now, again, as you saw before, kind of start with the basics, kind of get into that. Where's the best place to go online and just to get some education? Have you ever found a sweet spot of like, hey, this podcast is fantastic, or this person wrote a really interesting article, or you and I talked earlier that there was a great article recently from CNBC that really had Tom Ward speaking to e-commerce. Have you read anything interesting that you would point someone to?
Yeah. I of course, like most of us in this industry, I'm an avid reader.
Yeah.
And I've got my RSS feeds set up and all that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to me just to read analyst reports.
Okay.
Because what we're of course what we're trying to do is we're trying to skate toward where is the puck headed and other sports, right? And so I think of good old Wayne Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky. If he didn't say it, he's been given credit for it.
He is the great one, and so
for a reason.
And those analyst reports are very enlightening of where things are happening. I think additionally, for me, I spend a lot of time online just searching. Not buying, just searching and looking and scrolling and looking at what are the category shelves, what are how's Walmart merchandise and Target merchandise, what can we learn there? And then honestly, I'm excited about Plum because you're aggregating different views into how do you solve different problems. I'd be really curious to know from you, like tell me, because Plum hasn't launched yet, right?
Tomorrow morning when you get up, Plum's going to be there. Now we've been, kind of teasing about it, what's going to happen, but it is that excitement in our world. Now we've been dealing with a marketplace for years within Field Agent, and obviously our brand. But what we've noticed, and this has been, I'd say, in the last 18 months or so, is that people really are looking for an e-commerce experience with B2B providers, and it's just simply not there. So we have lowered our heads over the last 6-9 months, and we were pretty excited about the experience people are going to have. They're going to walk into a marketplace and be able to ask the question. We asked the question, what are you trying to solve for?
Right.
And for many of the people listening today, you're saying, I want to win at Walmart. Well, you're going to go to win at Walmart and you're going to find some research products. You're going to find some e-commerce products by Webata. You're going to see a merchandising opportunity to help you. You're going to find these products that are in front of you so that you don't have to worry about 10 different suppliers and setting them up. You've got it all into one place. And we think we've brought some of the best in class providers. We've kind of done our own little, sorting out for people, you being one of them, to bring them in. So we're pretty excited about that. And what we're going to find over the next few weeks and months and coming, just as we've always been pretty good listeners from a research standpoint, our clients are going to come back and say, gosh, it would be great if you had this provider. And we're talking to people in the corrugate area. What does it look like to be working with someone like Rapid Prototypes and say, gosh, how could I get a sample ready for my buyer meeting? What would it look like to have a small production run? We're engaging with the guys over at 8th and Walton and say, gosh, what if I wanted to do some training and education? How could I make that work? So we're really building that umbrella up for that one-stop shop. So we're pretty excited about that.
I love it. It's such a neat because we all have questions.
Right.
And we don't necessarily have the same question every day, or we don't get out of the same merchant meeting every day.
Right.
And realize we have a question we never knew we had before. And the way you're thinking about organizing sounds like from a question perspective of I need to do this thing or I'm curious about this thing. I love that. It's a very defined brief when you know what the question is and then determine how to best go answer it. And I think that's one of the truths about our space and many industries is that no one has all the answers. We're all trying to figure this out. There still, to my knowledge, isn't a great ecom degree at Harvard or Yale or anywhere. It's right. And so we're all trying to figure this thing out. And so you can learn a little something from everyone. And I think that's pretty wonderful.
Yeah. Well, we've been pretty excited about trying to educate the world as we know it.
Yeah.
But we're getting ready to close here for a second, get some Q&A. So people want to engage Gabe. And I'm going to talk about how to find me in a second. But if they wanted to engage you, to talk through e-commerce world, get your opinion, or if they wanted to look at your products or they needed to find some baby formula. Walk us through a couple of URLs and how would they get in contact with you?
Yeah, let's do the baby formula first. That is, there's no link back to our website. That really is a public service thing. And thankfully, Domo and Optimad Media came alongside and helped to pull this together. So I want to give them good credit. And that's www.findingformula.org.
Put that on social media. So just let it go viral because the average person should not be driving around with $5 per gallon gasoline looking for formula when they can go to this link and figure it out.
That's right. You know exactly where to go. And as I said, Walmart today, I think tomorrow we'll have Target ingested in and then keep going from there. And then for me and Webata, Webata.com is great. Experts@Webata.com is a great email. We'll return that almost immediately. We'd love to have a conversation around how we can help.
Yeah, and they can find you on LinkedIn too, right?
They can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
That's normally more of about a 24 to 36 hour turnaround. I'm not logged in perfectly every day.
I'm going to have to work on that little thing called a notification.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It really is the tech world we live in. I can fix that for you.
Exactly. Now, let me throw it back at you. Yeah. Plum is brand new.
Brand new. Listen,
how do they get involved?
Tomorrow morning, really tonight, probably after midnight, it's plumshop.com.
Okay.
They can find, obviously our products are on fieldagent.net, but plumshop.com will have all of our products. You can engage us there. I am kind of a LinkedIn guy. Yeah. You'd be surprised how quickly I would respond to a DM on LinkedIn. But you can reach me there. And then obviously, as we're talking about the industry here, Matt's been on and you can engage there. What I appreciate of your history, your background over the last 20 years here in this work, it's a fairly open community as far as helping people think through things. And I know you don't have an agenda. I don't either. I want folks to understand that we'd love to come alongside and help someone figure it out.
Yeah.
And just be someone that can help them do the right thing with their business. So obviously we all need to make money.
Right. That's right.
But if we're not trying to make money here, we'd love to help out. So I want to encourage folks to reach out to Gabe. He's your e-commerce guy. Webata is the right place to go. And obviously if you've got generic solutions for us, come to plumshop.com and check us out.
Now, Plum Shop, spell that. Plum?
Plumshop.
Good.
Plumshop.com.
Good.
There you go.
We'll be checking it out. I may even set an alarm for 12:01 and send you a text about 12:05 of it's up. And
I'll be awake.
I bet you will.
We'll be looking through things.